You shed the five people, and I always love it when people bring that up because I want to explain it in a little bit more in-depth way that, when Jim Rohn originally said that, people have always interpreted it as, it's your five closest friends are a representative of you, and that's not fully what he meant. What he meant by that is that
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. Today's review shout out comes from Jay Schindwald, all the way from the Philippines, no less. You'll love to hear it. And his review is titled Phenomenal, and it's a 5-star review, and it reads, I like how the podcast is focused on informational, inspirational, and motivational stories around business, career, and leadership. Love the episode with Dr. Zane, where they talked about the book Life Reset. It was amazing. And thanks a bunch, Jay Shinwall, for leaving that great review on Apple Podcasts. And if you too would like to do the same, head over to Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to, or heck, even the website, goingnorthpodcast.com. Leave a review, and we'll highlight it and read it aloud during a future episode. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North Podcast. We got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of podmatch.com. Indeed, that's right, indeed, where podcast guests get to meet with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're in. And today's guest is cool, the two cucumbers indeed, baby. Let me tell you a bit about him, because today's guest, he's a best-selling author, baby. That's right. And he is considered one of the leading, you heard that right, folks, leading global minds on sales, business development, and business growth. So all your trees in the forest are going to grow today, baby, because he's an entrepreneur and serves as the CEO and founder of Success Champions and Success Champion Networking. So let's give it up for a fellow DB himself, indeed, Donnie Boivin. How you doing today, Donnie?
Good, Dom. Can you do me something like a really favor? Can you do like that, oh yeah, late night radio show voice? Like, just bring it back old school. Because I feel like I'm on an old, like, bebop's 1950s radio right now. It's pretty damn cool. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, definitely ought to have you on, man, because you've been a guest on a bunch of podcasts. My man was able to turn tragedy into triumph indeed in the year that should not be named, and heck, even years before the year that should not be named. So, my goodness, since your first time on the podcast, and we occasionally have folks who stay in caves, mind filling us a bit in on who is the wonderful Donnie, since it's your first time on the show?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, I'm 20. Well, I spent 20 years as a straight commission sales guy. Turned 40 before I even knew you could start a business. I mean, as a blue collar kid. So in my world, you went, you got a job, you worked for other people, and you retired. And my last career was with a sales training organization, and supposedly I became one of the top sales trainers in the country. Not really sure what that means, other than I'm really good at flapping my gums in front of a room. During a fateful dinner, me and my business partner went out to dinner, and he looked at me that night and said, Donnie, thank God you're my retirement plan. And, he said it out of love. He truly did. And I replied instantly, it's been my honor. But after that dinner, dude, I sat in my truck and I was like, man, you're literally somebody else's retirement plan. And I looked over my entire life, and that's all I'd ever been, was somebody's damn retirement plan. So 15 days later from that moment, I jumped out of my own and launched my company. As soon as I did, our corporate office, because we were a franchise set up, sent 2 attorneys and a sheriff to my farm and served me my non-compete papers. I was not allowed to talk about sales, business development, sales management, or sales training anywhere in the damn world. So I started my company off as a success coach. And Dom, I can tell you this day, I have no damn clue what the hell a success coach is. I can tell you it's some sort of business prostitute that just says yes to anything. So my first year in business, man, I just threw a ridiculous amount of money hiring coaches, building things. And 6 months of doing that, I walked out the back door of my farm and my wife's Jeep was missing. I immediately
Mm,
called the police and said, I think somebody stole my wife's Jeep. And they said, no, sir, it's been repossessed. And I
mm,
realized I was going to have to go in and tell the rest of the story to my wife, which was the mortgage was 3 months behind. And I just got my first notice that they may head down the path of doing foreclosure. So my wife went in on Monday morning. She cashed in her 401k and literally saved the house and saved the farm and got her Jeep back. Growing up, I never saw the CEOs of the companies I worked for. So I never knew what the hell a CEO, let alone a business owner, actually did. So I was doing what I thought they did, which was sit in the corner office, spend a lot of money, and fill out paperwork and crap. But I wasn't doing the one thing that I'm actually good at, out selling. So I started getting out selling. And in April of 2018, I found podcasting, launched my first show. 5 months later, that show became number 22 in the world. And now I was sitting next to the Gary Vee's, the Tim Ferrisses, and all the guys. In September of 2018, my non-compete came up. And now I could talk about sales, had all this momentum from podcasting. So flash forward to where we are now. I run 3 companies, have one of the top podcasts in the world, 5 best-selling books, and a partridge in a pear tree. Literally everything my business do is help people to get to business freedom. And that's all I care. I just teach everything I wish somebody would have taught me as I was building a business. And I give away almost all of it for completely free. I just teach anywhere I can get a mouthpiece. I just want people to build the business they set out to build. So that's me in a nutshell, man.
that's what I'm talking about. Nutshell indeed. Cashew or almond, my man.
I'm impartial to nuts in general. Um, we're all a bowl of nuts any damn way. So, especially in this damn world we're living
You can say that again. That's why
in,
mental health is so talked about a lot nowadays.
right? For sure, for sure.
But my goodness, in terms of mental health, there's also business health. So my goodness, my goodness. So starting out, like if you probably felt like, oh man, it's like at the deathbed here, just beginning, still learning the freaking walk, still crawling, and able to find a way to actually have the 3 businesses now thriving. And if I'm not mistaken, because I listened to, I'd say around the first part of your audiobook, Fuck to Focus, and it was actually pretty inspiring how you actually got halfway through and realized, oh crap, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I got to tell the wife, it's like, oh shoot, I screwed up. Like, how am I gonna do this? So you're able to turn it around and really find a new way. So my goodness, my goodness. So what
No,
helps you
I
to
got a
really
question for you. Why the hell did you only make it halfway through? Was it not good?
no, it's because I bought the audiobook Wednesday night before the original recording.
He's like, dude, I got halfway through. I couldn't listen to this shit anymore. I'm out.
No, I'm actually glad you read it too. That's a bonus.
Yeah, for sure. I hate it when you buy an audiobook and then you go listen and it's somebody else doing the voice because you don't get their mannerisms, you don't get their emotion. Uh, you know, uh, if you want somebody else to do it, make it into a movie or something. I don't know. But the audiobooks, I really prefer it when it's the author.
Amen to that. Amen to that indeed. So my goodness, so with basically getting through all of that, you decided to make networking virtual and actual fun, man. So my goodness, so what did you hate about the physical face-to-face networking pre-COVID days
Yeah,
to now where it's like, let me get to this virtual part where it's really actual helpful to people.
for sure. I never really wanted networking to be a part of my business. Anybody who typically teaches networking or how to network, it's usually just a broke asshole that doesn't know how to sell. I mean, it's networking. It's not rocket science. It's like, Dom, go meet Bob. Bob, meet Dom. Good. We just networked. Good job. Okay. So it's literally, it's not rocket science. So I never wanted to do networking. But prior to leaving my last company and starting my own company, or last job and starting my own company, I ran 11 networking groups for the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, and I had 6 of my own. So I was, not only did I not want networking a part of my business, I was burned out on networking. My co-founder and COO of the company, Kevin Snow, he ran 52 BNI chapters out of Minnesota and had 1,400 people underneath him.
Wow.
And he was burned out on networking as well as he built his business. So we had rented out the Hearst Convention Center here in Fort Worth, Texas, had 23 speakers flying in from around the world. We sold a crap ton of tickets, and we were doing the inaugural Badass Business Summit. And 2 weeks before the event was supposed to happen, we got the phone call that said, if anybody shows up for your event, we will arrest everybody on site.
Ooh.
COVID.
Mm.
So we hit the year that shall not be named, right? And
Yeah.
uh, and here we were, watching the world join us in the online space because the Badass Business Summit was the only thing we were going to do in person. And, we'd already been doing business online for 2.5 years. And it kind of took us 2.5 years to build a successful online business. Oh, and we knew the whole world didn't have that long to figure out how to go online. They had 30 days at most. So that night, I sent Kevin off a message and said, what do you think about opening up virtual networking groups? And he said, I think it'd be a good idea. And then the next morning, I looked at my wife and I said, babe, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to be roped in with all these people who can't sell. I mean, I've sold hundreds of millions of dollars, throughout my career, and I can sell. So, and said, I don't want to launch these networking groups, but I got to help. So we're going to launch them. And she looked at me, she goes, you realize you're an idiot, right? I'm like, why am I an idiot? And she said, well, why don't you fix what everybody hates about networking and literally change how the world networks? And I went, shit. 7 days later, we launched. So there was a bunch of things we knew we were going to fix. First thing that we fixed was no MLMs, no network marketing, no direct sales type people into the network. The second thing we fixed was all of our meetings were going to be virtual. Wasn't because of the pandemic. I mean, that helped. But dude, I have a full working farm. I run 3 companies. I get to sit right here in my chair in a pair of pajamas, dressed in my t-shirt and ball cap up top. If I got to drive into town, I lose half a damn day. So I can do everything sitting right here. So all of our meetings are virtual. We didn't do the same boring ass meeting. Your traditional networking meeting is freaking a bunch of people sitting around doing these stupid 60-second commercials with dumbass jingles on the back end. And then some moron gets up and does a 10-minute presentation that nobody gives a shit about. And then they fabricate a whole bunch of referrals. And I'm like, man, we can't do that. We need real business, real people. So we stopped talking about referrals altogether because very rarely am I ever going to run into your perfect ideal client. And so we started talking more about introductions because if I know what industries are going to feed your business the best, I'm going to run into those industries all the time. And I can make those introductions all day long. And if I can put the 2 right people together, that's going to lead to a ton of referrals and synergy. So we focus 100% on introductions that likely lead to referrals, but it changes the game. 80% of our chapters are B2B focused, and we change the meeting format up. So we run 5 different styles of meetings. One's roundtables. We'll come up with a couple of topics, split people off into smaller groups, let them go talk best practices of marketing, LinkedIn, sales, mindset, all kinds of things. Second style of meeting, we do virtual coffees where we put people one-on-one, let them go talk and see if they can do any sort of collaboration or make introductions for each other. Third style of meeting, we call it member teach, where a member has to get up and actually teach us something. It's not you're not going to stand in front of our room and, say, well, back in 1950, this gray-haired old bastard started our company, right? Nobody gives a shit. So you literally got to come in and teach us something, man. So I saw, some sort of skill set that we can all apply to our business. I mean, hell, I watched a guy that was a mortgage loan guy teach how scuba diving correlated to business. It was really cool as hell. So I'm gonna get some really cool
Wow.
topics. The fourth style of meeting is we have an approved list of some just badass speakers to go around and train at all of our different meetings. And we just added a fifth style of meeting where it's a mastermind. We'll break you into small groups. One person gets put in a hot seat. They share a business issue, something they're going through. They get 1 minute to share that business issue. Then there's 2 minutes of the people that are in a group asking them some clarifying questions. And then there's 7 minutes of feedback on that issue, and they're getting advice on how to work it. So changed up the meeting structure. Then we had some real fun. I thought most networking misses out on training and development. So we added a training thing in. So every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, we bring all the chapters from around North America right now, and I'll teach for 25, 35 minutes, and then we'll break people into small breakout groups. So now you're networking with every member inside of SEN. We've got an entire online community where you have access to every member in the network. You can go visit every chapter in the network. We just put as many things in there as you could open up the entire world. We're opening up the Philippines right now, or then
Oh,
Dominican
wow.
Republic is this next, and we got 6 countries chasing that. It's been insane, and we're the fastest growing networking organization on the planet, and we kind of feel like we're riding a bolt of lightning right now with how fast it's growing. But it's been a lot of fun to go from something we didn't really want to do to something we just enjoy the hell out of.
Man, congratulations, dude. That's freaking huge. And it's a testament like to, well, actually quite a few lessons popped out of that. One's like, one, make sure you choose the right spouse to really call you out and hold you accountable and give
Mm.
you some good ideas.
Dude, I'm legit writing the book right now. It's called The Shit My Wife Said That Changed My Life.
Oh,
Because there's
wow.
too many times, man, that she's got such a pointed north compass, man. She's always going to do the right thing. She's a rule follower. So there's just been too many times in life where she said the right thing at the right time that I needed to hear that just completely changed the trajectory of where I was going. It's been awesome. So yeah, but I got a hell of a woman.
That book will probably be a New York Times bestseller.
What everybody says. What everybody says.
That's going to be bigger than Amazon.
Right? I should probably just call it Yes, Dear. But
Oh, there you go. Yes, dear. The shit my wife says I have to agree to.
right, right. I've learned in the arguments that she's right 99% of the time. So I just quit, even going after it anymore. I'm like, babe, I don't even know why I try and argue with this. She goes, me either. So it's too funny, too funny.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, man, it looks like you got all these metaphorical championship belts around the freaking globe. So, the Philippines too expansion, huh? Like, my goodness, that's a lot of fire catching, dude. So, and like the way you describe those meetings, if I'm not mistaken, the 4 different types of meetings or the 5 different types where
Uh,
it's actual training and development, not just the whole BS 1 hour of 30 sales pitches.
30 sales pitches is right too. Um, Networking was created originally by a bunch of people who couldn't sell. And, even if you go read the story from all the original or the old time networking organizations that have been around for years, there's nothing against them. I think people go to these older organizations to learn how to network, and I think it's a great proving ground to learn how to network if you've never done it before. But eventually, most people will outgrow those type of organizations. But those organizations, if you go listen or read their origin stories, the one was a consultant that, all of a sudden he lost all of his business and needed a new way to find business, and so he brought a bunch of people together and created networking groups. And instead of going out and selling, they found networking, and so we if you look at a lot of the way networking's taught, it's taught by people that don't know how to sell, and they just teach the idea that networking should be everything you do. And I'm just a firm believer that if network is the only thing you're going to do, you're going to lose, because you're going to eventually run out of network. And, if only thing you can do is refer other people who also network, you bring no value to the network. And so we tell everybody about 50% of your business better be outside of networking, so you can bring that value back to your network. Because if you're not out selling and meeting new people, and you're not bringing those back to your network, then you're expecting the network to grow your damn business, and that's a scary damn place to be. So I just believe 50% of your business should be networking. 30% of your business, 33% of it, if you want to get whatever that comes out to, or 25% of it needs to be out there doing cold outreach and cold calls or cold connections, and the other 25% of it better be some form of social interaction, social selling of some sort. And imagine having a room of people that actually know how to go out and sell, and they're all bringing back those introductions and those contacts and those clients back to the group. Man, some massive business gets done. And I don't know about anybody else, but I want to be around a bunch of badasses, not a bunch of rookies that don't understand that they should be bringing value to the group. I mean, I visited a networking group, which I do every once in a while, just to go see if I hear about a new organization or something I want to go see, because I'm always looking for, best practices from other badass organizations. And I went to this one meeting, and, I listened to 3 or 4 guys saying, I'd never bring my clients to a group like this because those are my clients and nobody should have access to them. And I thought, God, I'd never let you into my world, you selfish prick. You know, uh, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if I got somebody that I respect and they're working as hard as I'm working, they're out there getting after it and getting new clientele, I'm going to open doors for them because it's the right damn thing to do. They might open doors for me, but man, I want some good juju out there. And I just know that the more you serve and pour into people, the more the world says, hey, you want some more. And I want to be around a bunch of just absolute badasses that are doing the right thing at the right time and opening doors for others, and are genuinely invested in my success as much as I'm invested in theirs.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's probably why it's called Success Champions, because you want to be around other folks who are champions in business. And you're right, because it's like the old classic, the folks you hang around, the 5 folks you hang around, making sure they're actually good people with excellent mindsets, not the selfish, greedy folks that want to keep all their clientele for themselves.
Right, right. Yeah, you shed the 5 people, and I always love it when people bring that up, because I want to explain it in a little bit more in-depth way. That when Jim Rohn originally said that, people have always interpreted it as, it's your 5 closest friends are a representative of you, and that's not fully what he meant. What he meant by that is that circle of 5 always moves. So yeah, it could be
Mm,
your 5 friends, but it's also your 5 clients. It's also the 5 prospects you're going after. It's also the 5 mentors you have. It's also your family, your closest 5, and that, so that circle evolves. And so but people get wrapped up in that my friends have got to be just absolute rock stars. And it's not necessarily true, because that 5 moves as you move. And, I have more respect for the guy that understands that he should be going after 5 clients to scare the absolute shit out of them, because they're bigger than he thinks they can handle. But he knows he's going to go after them to learn, versus the person who's playing small but not hanging out with his old friends because he thinks those friends will hold him down. I got more respect for the person going big and still has those same friends back home, because his mental game is so strong that those 5 friends can't pull him down. So, it's a evolution of thought. And the moment you blame your lack of going for it because you got 5 shithead friends that you've been friends with for 30 years that you can't be around because they pull you down, that's on you, man. That's your own mental game that needs some work. Now, if your friends are all freaking druggies and, street thugs or whatever else, man, grow beyond them. But you need a home base of people you can go back to, and you're not going to throw your family out most times. So, that five evolves with you, and the further you evolve, the further those circles will push and flow.
And that is so powerful right there. Definitely an evolution of thought indeed, because I never even thought about it that deep because you're so right. It's like, hey, you know what? It's always good to have a home base, but like if you have that mindset to really go for really going for the big one, like going for a client that may feel like maybe out of your reach, but if you still win, like that's still you win either way because it's like, hey, you had the goal, you had the cojones, the balls to actually get the glory. And if you win, you win. If you didn't win, hey, you still know that you can still reach out there and have the confidence to freaking win. So that's powerful too, especially the whole top five clients thing too. It's like,
Yeah,
you never even thought about that either.
yeah,
They always focus on the friends, not the other five in the other circles.
yeah, for sure. Well, I'll look at somebody's prospect list, and they're playing it safe. You can see it. They're going after a bunch of smalls, and
Mm.
they're not targeting the bigger clients. And success is found by the people that are willing to do the things that others are too scared to do. And people talk about stupid things like fear of failure, and I just don't even really believe fully in failure. I do, but failure only happens when you quit. I just believe life is a damn experiment. And if life is a damn experiment, then you need to go experiment and do different things. Then there's no failure. You're just testing shit out, and that way may not fully have worked. Cool. Let's learn from what that way. Let's adjust a little bit because it's an experiment and you're allowed to adjust because you're still learning, and then let's go again. And what most people do is they get to that spot, it doesn't work out, and they're like, "Fuck it, I'm out," and they throw in the towel and they move to another direction. The successful people understand that life is an experiment, and when the going gets tough, that's the exact moment that you start tweaking, adjusting, turning the dials, and figuring out your way through it. And that tough time becomes a very easy moment. And then it becomes a teaching moment to share with other people. And as long as you get through that theory and start able to teach it and articulate it to somebody else, that's when you find success. So, I tell people successful people were just people that were too dumb to quit where everybody else threw in the damn towel. But people are wrapped up under this concept of you got to fail forward and you should always be failing. No, no. You always got to be experimenting. You always got to be trying. You always got to be testing and adjusting and going again. You only fail if you throw in the towel. And the more people will embrace this idea, the easier life gets. Never gets easy, but you can make it easier.
Oh, my man Don is bringing the heat indeed. So my goodness, so since life is an experiment, has there been any other experiments? It doesn't even have to be just business, something that's really worked out for you as a result after running that test to help you advance in life.
Yeah, we'll go to the Badass Business Summit. I was doing a live broadcast on Facebook one day. We had a couple hundred people watching the live, and during the live, one of the listeners said, "Hey, I've got a speaking engagement for you down in San Antonio, Texas." I said, "Oh, that's cool. Send me the information. I'd love to learn more." And a bunch of other people started chiming in. They're like, "Hey, if you're going to speak down in San Antonio, we want to come and see you speak." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do that." And then somebody said, "Hey, if we're all going to go down and listen to him speak, why don't we get, a conference room and then he can run a workshop or something?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, hold on, guys. We're not, I'm not freaking renting out a hotel for, a workshop in San Antonio." I said, "Why don't we look at doing something up here in Fort Worth where I got some connections and we'll figure it out." And then somebody in the live stream goes, "Oh, and we can call it DonnieCon." I'm like, "No, no, no, we are not calling this shit DonnieCon." Right? Um, but that's how the Badass Business Summit was formed. But we went from that live to we were having the summit in 4 months. So renting on a convention center, getting the speakers and everything. And then of course it got postponed because of COVID, which hindsight really became a blessing because we really didn't know what the hell we were doing. We'd never done a summit. We'd never, put all this together. But that first one we actually did, we tried to do it online and in person. The online sucked. It was horrible. People couldn't hear, they couldn't see the
Mhm.
camera angles. We had, entrance music trying to get the entrance music didn't play right in a couple of spaces. We had camera. I mean, there was just a lot of wonky things. And if you go back and you see the videos, I just laugh because I look like a goofball on stage. I just did not have everything we needed in place. And, we had a couple of vendors we hired that, like the video team for that first summit, they didn't even film all the speakers, so uh
Oh.
uh
Ooh.
it was
Uh.
just a hot mess. And so going into year two, we were able to take a lot of those lessons from year one and apply it to year two. And in year two, man, we had a lot better lighting, cooler stage with a cooler background, and we brought in more specific learnings and lessons and teachings, and we brought in a lot more scheduling and the likes. But now we had two rooms that we were doing a thing where year one we had one room, and we weren't prepared to really coordinate well between the two rooms, the audio, the visual, so there was a lot of things and the flow, and people walked away and said that was the best business conference they ever been to in year two. And but we still broke a lot of things. Going into year three is one we just did here in September. We rented out a different hotel. We had interchangeable walls in between, awesome stage and lighting and backgrounds, round tables, cloths. I mean, and it went really, really well. But like our camera crew, the photographers were absolutely amazing. The videographers lost all the damn footage, so their hard drive crashed. So luckily, my DJ who did all the audio had this camera running the entire time, so we were able to capture some good footage of our main stage. We lost all the footage for the secondary stage, so we just realized going into year four that we are going after a highly professional videography team, spending a shit ton of money, to make sure a crew's there. We're going to have, huge legal forms of what happens, how we collect it. We're going to have computers on site that they can download the stuff to us right then and there. So nobody can leave without us getting everything. So there's just a lot of moving parts that you continue to learn, but you only learn by doing the thing and purposely letting things, screw up, fall apart, and break, and going, all right, how do we do that better? And the greatest phrase I've learned in my life about learning through something breaking is, it's my fault. So I don't give a damn what breaks in my company. It's my fault. That's on me. And my staff gets pissed sometimes when I'm like, and I take, and say, that's my fault. They're like, no, 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 I screwed up. I said, sorry, guys, that one's on me. And the reason I do that is, one, I truly believe that it is my fault. I hired that person, or I didn't give enough instruction, something happened that's on me. And every time I say it's my fault, my brain goes into a different gear and goes, okay, how do we fix it? How do we do it
Mm.
right? How do I say it better? And it adjusts. But the minute we pass the buck and say, man, what the fuck? Why didn't you do your job? You totally screwed this up. You turn off the thinking mechanism that allows you to go, how do we do this better? How do we fix this? How do we move through there? So, and it's just switching from that kind of victim mentality to complete ownership over it, and it allows you to move forward. So I mean, that's was a long answer to an experiment question, but that's literally how we've continued to evolve the Badass Business Summit to just bring a lot of people in. Oh, wait, I got
Hey,
another one if you want
go ahead,
to.
drop it.
So about 65-ish days ago from this recording, I decided I needed to lose some weight. So I have a full working farm. So I decided I was going to, I was getting up about 5 o'clock in the morning at that point. I said, you know what? I'm going to get up at 4. I'm going to start walking the farm. So I'd go out 4 o'clock in the morning. I let my German Shepherds run the front pasture, and then I would walk gate to gate, about 200 steps in between both gates. And I decided that I was just going to put on a podcast, walk the driveway, gate to gate, and do this for 45 minutes, because that was going to be enough to get my body out off the damn Zoom chair and walking. Well, I did that leading up to the summit. And about 20 days before the summit, I realized that. So you need to know, I was diagnosed with ADHD this year. So 45 years old, and I was diagnosed with ADHD. And, I didn't understand that growing up, that the reason I doodled and distracted myself when I tried to learn is because that was the only way I could focus, right? I needed something else going on that I didn't have to pay attention to so I could actually listen to the words being said. So during this walk, it's pitch dark out. I'm walking and listening to a podcast. And what I found is I was able to focus on the business. And in those 20 some odd days, we added so much revenue to the company because I was able to figure out all the moving parts in the company that I wasn't focused on, wasn't doing right, and change it all up. So I got heavily focused. So we decided that we were going to launch a challenge at the summit called Champions 90. But we put the whole challenge together, and it's 5 business development activities that people were going to do to help them go get their business development further. And what I wasn't prepared for was the results by the time I got to the summit. So it was I don't know, about 35 days when we got to the summit. I was going to make this announcement, and I stepped on the scale the morning before the summit, and I'd lost 37 pounds.
Nice.
Now I've been fasting the entire time, so it wasn't, this isn't a workout routine, but the walking, definitely contributed. But we added, almost $50,000 in revenue in that same time frame just for going out and doing these walks. So we launched the Champions 90, which is these 5 activities, for completely free. We gave away the entire thing. People do 5 activities. You do a 45 minutes of workout, 45 minutes of a podcast, 30 minutes of cold outreach, so cold calling, cold DMing on LinkedIn, and 30 minutes of hand raising activities where you're putting out original content or commenting on social media posts. And then you write 200 words a day. You do this for 90 days, no quit. If you miss a day, you start over. And people started doing this. And anybody can go to LinkedIn and just type in hashtag champions 90, or go to Facebook and type in hashtag champions 90 and go look at the results and the feedback of people doing, because they're so focused on their business. So if anybody wants to play along, you can do champions90.com and go check it out. There's no cost, there's no webinars, there's no upsells, no anything like this. This is just you committing to growing your damn business. And it's been the coolest thing that we've put out, that people have really, really said, man, this has been an absolute game changer. So we launched that at the summit, and some people are halfway through. They're on, day 45, and the ROI from doing those activities have been just amazing. So another fun experiment.
Heck yeah, that's right indeed, and healthy on all fronts too. Because like movement breeds more movement, like movement of your mind too. Like with the ADHD, it's like you got to keep yourself occupied in multiple ways, and it's a good thing you discovered that as a result. It's like, oh shoot, 37 pounds lost, feeling leaner and meaner in both body and business.
Exactly right.
That's right indeed. So my goodness, so such our fellow podcast hosts, I have to always ask the obligatory podcast host question. So my goodness, what would you consider your 3 major lessons you gained from hosting and growing multiple podcasts?
So, one, you better become a walking billboard, because
Mm.
growing your audience is one of the toughest things in the world. And people always ask how I got my first show so big, and it's really simple. I was doing a lot of public speaking at that point, and everywhere I spoke, I would plot out the 3 to 5 hotels in that area that I thought that salespeople would be at. And whenever I came off stage, man, I'd go hit the bar, find the 1 or 2 sales guys sitting by themselves, lonely as hell, because they're on playing Road Warrior, and I'd sit right next to them, order my drink, and inevitably strike up a conversation, ask them what podcasts they listen to, and they were like Joe Rogan almost every damn time. And I'm like, what app do you listen to podcast on? And they'd say Spotify, Apple, whatever. And I say, well, pull out your phone. And I'd say, well, type in growth mode. And they'd type it in, and my show would pop up. I'd subscribe them right then and there to the show. And say, do me a favor. Here's my personal email address. Go listen to an episode and send me your feedback of what your takeaways were. And so, I'd hit all the hotels that night, and I just kept doing this over and over again. And people would send the emails back and say, hey, here's a couple of my takeaways. And when they did that, I'm like, oh, I'm glad you selected that episode. If you like that episode, here's 2 more you should go check out, and let me know what you think about these. And they send me email back. They did that again. I'm like, dude, you got to do me a favor, man. Will you tell a couple of friends about this and get them in the show? And so I turned all my listeners into my basic sales force for it, the podcast. You got to go full guerrilla style on podcast because very few people are just going to search and find your podcast. The second thing that I learned is the conversations that happen before and after are 10 times better than the conversation during, because that's when all the business networking happens. That's when you get to meet the real person, have a phenomenal conversation, build a relationship with them. And then the third thing is when you hang out with podcasters, man, they're just some cool people, and they're going to help get you on other shows, tell you about the new gadgets and tools and things coming out, because you get a bunch of podcasters together, and all we're going to do is talk about the new things we found or the new technologies, new programs. So it's just a cool environment of people that legitimately nobody's trying to sell anybody anything. It's all just kind of geeking out in the podcast world. So I've enjoyed the hell out of podcasting. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Boom. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. This is one of those episodes that's been hotter than fish grease. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed. That sales experience, just having a regular conversation for real. That's right indeed. Having that strategy in mind, growing that wonderful trees. I'm telling you, that's right indeed. Some solid tips for any podcast listening to this episode, listening to a master himself. You listen to a master work, the mighty Donnie. That's what I'm talking about. The mighty Donnie indeed. Well, two more questions for you, and I'll let you make a run for it, my man. So the first one is there a question that you wish podcast hosts would ask you more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these shows?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I think usually when I get on the mic, they usually stay focused more on the business side of things. It's only been a couple of shows where I've been asked about the farm and,
Mm.
what, it's like really running a farm in correlation with the business. Um, and, I'll answer my own question I just threw out there. But the biggest thing that I would tell people is if they run their business like you run a farm, they'd win more often. And what I mean is I have a dwarf Nigerian goat farm, right? So we got a bunch of goats. Um, I don't get a day off from the goats. The goats can't feed themselves. They can't let themselves out to the pasture. They can't put themselves up at night. So it doesn't matter what happens in the day. I got to take care of the goats. So if people would treat their business development like I treat my goats, you do the work until the work's done, right? So that means every day, 7 days a week, you're doing business development activity. And this is not the hustle and grind shit. This is, you got to do the things that are going to grow your business, and you can't miss those things. I don't expect you to work 18 bajillion hours, but I do expect you to get the work done. So if people would understand that farmers all around the freaking world are waking up, taking care of the animals, putting in a full day of the fields, the tractors, everything else, and they got to come back and put up the animals. If they would treat business development the same damn way, you get up, you do your business development, you finish your day with business development, you get the work done until the work's done, and then you go on, go home, spend time with the family and everything else, you'd live life a lot better. So there's a lot of things from farming that has helped me out tremendously in business once you identify what those things are. But thanks for letting me ask my own question to myself and then answering it. I like it.
uh, of course. And funny enough, that was like the first thing I noted doing my usual research before folks are popping on. And next sounds like you got another book idea waiting to drop.
Oh, right? That's
That's
awesome.
right. You could have yourself Photoshop your face on a shepherd's body, even though it's your going.
Wow. That's some Mockingjay shit. What was the name of that? Shit, I don't remember that damn book.
Oh,
Too
Hunger
fun.
Games.
Hunger Games, that's the one when all the freaking all the people die and their faces go on the dogs and shit. Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Oh, if you drop that cover, I'm definitely gonna buy 5 copies and give them out to people for no reason. That's
Well,
right, Dave.
if somebody's listening, they got books and they're like, how do I get more people to buy books? I got a fun, trick for it. And I'll tell anybody who listens to your show. If anybody goes out and buys 10 copies of the book Fuck to Focus, They email me the receipt at donnie@donnieboivin.com. I'll send them my personal Calendly link and give them an hour of coaching on whatever they want to coach on in their business. Right. So literally, if somebody has books, they want more people to do it, figure out a trade. Tell people to go buy 10 of them and give them something in return for those 10. And you'll be amazed at how many people will actually go out and buy books.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And it's so true. It's so true, indeed. Because it's like, hey, exchange, equivalent exchange at another level. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. They'll feel like they're actually winning something because I'm sure that hour isn't cheap normally.
No, it's not.
It's far from cheap. That's a full course meal.
Yeah, real quick.
Tenfold.
It might be more like 20 or 30 full course meals. I mean,
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you. I'm glad you said that because I forgot to ask you the other one. So usually the follow up to the other one is, so if your book to focus, if it was a food, what would it be and why?
oh shit. I can honestly say I've never been asked that. If fuck the focus would be a food and what it would be, it'd probably be a goddamn ghost pepper, only because you're gonna read it and it's gonna light your ass up. That whole book was written from the perspective of everything I wish somebody would have told me as I was building the business. And what's been fun is to watch people create masterminds around the book and then use that book for their mastermind and go through the entire process. I mean, the book's only like 80 pages long. I mean, it's small, but each chapter is designed and laid out that if you follow it step by step, you can build a business, set you up for actual scale. But you could also go back and just reference individual chapters of areas you're struggling on. So, but a lot of masterminds have picked up the book. It's only a $3.99 book on Amazon, so it costs you $4 on Amazon, right? So they're taking the book, buying it all for their mastermind. And what's cool is when they all get together and take a picture, they're all holding the book. It's just cool to see. But then they turn that into, it's like 14 weeks or 15 weeks of each chapter becomes their week as part of their mastermind. That's been cool to see. So yeah, I liked it. It's a damn ghost pepper or whatever's hotter than that because it's hot as hell and it's gonna burn your ass. How do you like that?
First ever person to call the book of Ghost Pepper and D, baby. Oh man. Well, coming down to the original second last question before you reminded me of the other one. So if you don't wake up tomorrow, you're 25 again, but you're still in the current year. What advice would you give to yourself?
Start a business. Start a business. My only regret is I didn't start a business freaking 20 years ago. Man, I wish somebody would have pulled me aside and said, dude, don't go spend your entire career working for other people. Go start a business because nobody tells you, but building a business, you're going to meet your damn self. At some point, you're going to run out of fucking excuses. When you get to that point, man, then you start living. And I forget who said it, but they said you live two lives. And the second one begins when you realize you only live one life. And, freaking, I think building a business is the greatest tool in the world to do self discovery. And there's nothing better and stronger in this world than to know how you freaking tick. And, I can tell you the day I had to look at my wife and say, babe, we're about to lose it all was the moment I ran out of excuses because there was nobody left to blame but me. Right. So, yeah, 20 years ago, 25 years old, whatever, you have to have been 20 years ago, freaking start a business. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Oh, that's right indeed. That's right indeed, baby. Start that business today. Get my man Donnie's content indeed. Check it out. That's right. Baptize your ears in the content. Baptize your eyes in the content. That's right indeed. Put on the goat mask too while you're doing it too, just for posterity.
I'm gonna have somebody fucking start sending me goat masks now. Fucking go to Amazon, type in Donnie Boivin. It's just gonna be a goat mask.
Be like, welcome to the family, son.
Lord.
Oh man. So for those who want to be fellow goats metaphorically and check out your content and keep up with your journey, what's the best way for folks to do so, my man?
Just go over to DonnieBoivin.com. DONNIE, V as in boy, OI, V as in Victor, IN.com. You can find all of our stuff. Social handles is Donnie Boivin on all the socials. But do me a bigger favor, guys. If you got anything out of this podcast, any tips, tricks, anything of value out of this episode or any other of Dom's episode, do him a favor and share this damn thing out with one other person. I can tell you, I have my own show. One of the toughest things in the world is building an audience. Man, this dude's got a laugh like no others. You can tell he has a lot of fucking fun doing this. Help him grow his audience and reach more people by sharing this out. Leave him a review wherever you listen to this shit and help support the show, man. Because every person you tell about the show, it's like you walked up and gave him a virtual hug. And I guarantee this big man likes hugs. So friggin' help a brother out.
Woohoo! Amen indeed. That's right indeed. That's that DB to DB connection, baby. That's right.
Dude, if you don't put out a social graphic that says DB and DB on it, I'm gonna be highly disappointed.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Well, you heard the man, folks. That's right, indeed. Head over to DonnieBoivin.com. I'm going to put that link to that in the show notes. Check out his show as well. And brownie points if you do share this with other folks, indeed. That's right, indeed. The earth is a giant bagel, and we need this cream cheese all over it. I'm telling you, metaphorically. I'm telling you. Got to spread it around.
That's a big ass bagel.
Well, they say the cream rise to the top, and got to spread it around. Share the love.
Wow, you crack me up, bud.
Oh man. Well, before any more rabbit holes appear, any parting words before we close up shop?
Man, literally the only last thing that I can say is if you are building a business and you're going after it, don't make yourself an island. We all have a shitty time building a business. You go through a lot of fucking ups and downs. Do not sit there by yourself and try and figure everything out. Get around a group of people that are going for it. Find yourself a mastermind peer group. Just find a bunch of people that are going for it. Dive into learning with podcasts, and constantly feed your mind with knowledge from others or any place you can get it. But don't make yourself an island building a business, because anytime you make yourself an island because you don't want people to know how bad it is, you're just going to dig a hole for yourself and it's going to get worse. Get around other people that are going for it and watch what happens.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.